Now recording. Let's get a screen up. Sure we don't want to read my emails. So that's not going to be the one we want. Cancel. It's going to be blank. Yeah. See, I feel so relaxed with you. I don't mind making mistakes, Oriana. Okay. What we've been talking about is this idea of, the loops. Of this idea that we're going to look at something and we're going to feed it forward, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And then what we know is going to happen, and what we actually experienced last year is we experienced this feeding back. Do you realize when we had the feed forward and the feedback, Oriana? Do you know the moments in time that you were feeding something forward?
Well, when I launched the web page, that was feeding forward, right?
Yes. In fact, it was even before that.
Oh yeah, with the videos.
Yeah, and so when you started to feed your idea forward, were you at risk?
Yeah.
Yes, you're at extreme risk. So you feed forward this idea, right? And whether you like it or not, right? You've got this idea that you're feeding forward. That's where this whole thing started. Remember what I said about idea? So you've been feeding this idea forward, and the market has been giving you feedback.
Feedback. Yeah.
Whether you like it or not. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
And whether you ask for it or not. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
You see, so now all of a sudden, you've got this idea that the feedback. And whether you like it or not, feedback comes. You can't, that's just what happens. You understand my point?
Yeah.
So as you feed this thing forward, and you're constantly looking at feeding something forward, how do you make your idea? How do you fix your idea so that now we've got this idea that we've been feeding forward, and in a lot of ways, the agreement has really lacked, the idea has really lacked agreement. And my guess is you're right now in a place where you have to get formalized agreements with people for you to take your idea, because your idea is now a reality.
Yeah.
Understand my point?
Yeah.
And so what I believe that would be going on for you right now is the agreements that you need to put into place. Right? And I heard you say last week with your vendors. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So the question now is, we've got this thing to work. What agreements do we need to put in place for this thing to condition? You understand my point?
Yes, I made some agreements for the vendors, when they apply to be a vendor, they receive an email with the agreement about what are the conditions to become a vendor. For example, I need them that they need to have business register in Venezuela, for example, legally registered, that it shows that they need US constantly because they needed to work. So that is one of the requirements I need to approve a vendor in my in Express. So
Okay.
the other
So
agreement
now,
is the the other agreements are the fees. For example, the PayPal fees are the Express fees. But
okay.
normally,
So now, hang
okay.
on. Let's just look at this for a second. Now you're going to fees,
Mhm.
right? That goes to exchange,
Exchange. Ah, okay, yes.
right? Because what you're now doing is working out the exchange.
Mm.
And what's happening, exactly the same thing. As you get into exchange, you're feeding forward your concept. Do you understand my point?
Mhm.
So now when we're feeding this forward, we're now feeding this thing forward that says, yeah, it says get rid of that. We're now going to feed that forward. You start to see what's happening?
Mhm.
So what's happening is what feedback are you getting now from your agreements?
None.
What does that tell you?
That I need to change some agreement.
That's what I would say, because you're not even getting into exchange right now. You see, this hasn't even started yet because you're finding it hard to get an agreement. And so the feedback to you at that moment is there's something in the agreement that people either don't understand or don't want to understand. And so even though your feedback, at some moment, it's almost silence, right? You understand my point? Do they come back to you?
No, they don't. They didn't.
Why do you think they don't come back to you?
I think because mostly they don't have a business register in Venezuela, or they don't like that they receive the money in PayPal.
Okay. So now we're starting to get what your assumption is around the feedback given. Yes?
Yeah.
How do you know?
It's my idea. I don't have confirmation about from the appliers. So I think it's my idea. That is what I think might be.
Okay, so what's happening when you think like that? What happens to you at that moment?
I feel stuck.
Yes. So what's happened to you right now?
Stuck. I feel stuck. I am stuck. I don't have vendors
Yeah.
registered
So,
yet.
but in the exact, and I hate to tell you this,
Hmm.
that the process remains the same. And when you're saying, well, I'm stuck right now, the only way to get through that being stuck is one of the things that I really understand. And, you know, in a lot of way, the thing that I bring to the table here is drive or driven. I'm driven. Something inside me just does not accept what's already there. I am driven. It drives me nuts. Right? And in the same way that you have a passion to do what you're trying to do right now, the idea is your passion. At some moment, we've got to drive. What to be driven? What must you do to all of your vendors, all of the people in this? What must you do?
At least answer something, say something, I think.
Well, first of all, before you say something, do you think you want to condition? Spell it for me, Raphael. So
D-I.
So it's D-I.
T.
T-I-O.
I-O-N. Yes, correct.
Condition.
Perfect. Yeah.
I just get stuck in the middle on the dyslexia.
Yeah, I know.
Condition to the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? Do you think your vendors have to be conditioned to your idea? It's not their idea. It's not my idea. It's not Raphael's. It's your idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm driven to condition to the idea. And so even though I get feedback, I accept the feedback, but I take the feedback and I go back and I feed it forward with what my idea is. And a lot of times it's not pleasant. You understand my point? It's not about being nice or all the rest of it. It's about, this is my idea. This is what I want to do. And to do this, do they have to have a license in Venezuela for you to do it?
Yeah, at least.
Why?
Because I know that it's a business and it is not a person that is just taking advantage about the platform, that maybe can do something wrong with the clients, and the express will be the guilt about that situation, not the vendor. You understand my point?
I do understand your point, but I don't know how that protects you.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they have a business doesn't mean that they can't be fly by night. Are you worried about them stealing the money?
No, just stealing the money. It can be people that launder money, because in Venezuela there are a lot of people like that, you know, that, for example, the government people has a lot of Bolivares Fortes to change in US. They need to get out that money from Venezuela. So they normally do or use whichever media, whichever platform or media to do it, you know, to launder money. So that is why I asked for a license in Venezuela. It's my way to make sure that it is a business, a real business, and not a person who is just taking advantage.
Okay. So now, as you work on your idea, first of all, you know your idea is going to work, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't it just took you a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of effort. And what happens a lot of times when it takes a lot of effort to do something, that's when they think all the hard work finishes. But that's when you get the bigger problem. You know, my mentors have always said to me, the reality of solving a problem is you get a bigger problem. Right? And right now,
Literally.
you have the bigger problem. So conceptually, we know your idea works. So we're not worried about that anymore, are we? We might refine it, but conceptually it works. Now what we have to do is we have to really build the agreement. We have to now get the idea to work with the agreement, with what you agree. And all of these things around whether they're laundering money, that's all goes to the integrity of your idea, right?
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, when you write an agreement, what do you think will be more important than the agreement?
The integrity of the express.
No, that's part of your idea.
My integrity. Full integrity.
No, your idea has got to have integrity included. So you've got this exchange mechanism that you've got, and now you're qualifying it, you're refining your idea. You're now putting other conditions in the way of your idea, right? Because the honest to goodness truth is, why do you give a shit if they launder money? Your idea is a transaction between parties to support somebody in Venezuela. Why do you qualify it by saying, oh, they can't launder money? And it's a straightforward question. I don't want you to launder money, by the way. I just want to know why it bothers you so much.
I don't know, maybe it is because I feel like this has, has to be for people that really need it and not just people that want to take advantage.
Yes. So now you can now write your agreement with the idea that says, okay, we now have tested that it's feasible. We don't know if it's viable right now, right? It's feasible to transfer money using this process. We know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you're wanting to qualify it by what you believe it really should be. So now the idea grows. If the idea was just about money, would it matter to you if people were laundering money? See, the point I get, the real serious point I get to is, you're actually an anarchist. You don't like the Venezuelan government, right? And you want to make a difference in that sense, right? Am I on or off course? Hello?
Yes, you are.
I'm getting. But you see, at some moment, that's obvious. And so the people that you're attracting may not be necessarily the people that will understand money in the way that you want them to understand money. You're taking on one of the hardest issues that we have in the world today, and it's exchange. See, if you look at what's really going on all around us right now, is right here. I need to start that again. is coming in here. It's this. And what's going on is your agreements have got to be congruent with who you are and what your idea is. Because if it's just about money, doing it and just getting someone to put money and getting into Venezuela, you've done that. That you know you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually going much further than that. You understand my point?
Yeah.
What's my point?
That we know that it works, so I have to work on the agreements to make sure that the exchange can be done.
Yes, and you have to, like when you're doing this, Oriana, one thing that is, it keeps me coming back to this call is you.
Oh.
No, it's like, what I like is you take feedback and you get on with it. That's why I keep coming back. If you didn't take feedback, I wouldn't come back. Just hang on a second. Anna wants to talk to you.
Okay.
Anna? Yeah.
Manu, ¿andas allí?
Manu es aquí, sí. Manu. O se perdió. Manuel, estás en mute. No, se perdió Manu.
Again, other agreements that got to be kept or not.
Yeah.
Okay, so my real point to you is that one of the things that's got you stuck is making sure that people get to where to do it the way you want it to do it. You've got to be willing to condition it. Now, not everybody's going to want to be conditioned in the way that you're talking about. And so at some level, you've got to find people that have an agreement or think the way that you think. And that might be hard to find. Right? And there will be lots of people out there that'll do that. But really, I think now it's like if you go back and really look at the definition, you're trying to make a difference in the world. This is not a 5-minute job, Oriana. This is a job for somebody that tackles all the problems that come along. And the problem you're tackling, tell me that there's not a world full of people that want to solve the same problem. Bitcoin, beryllium, or whatever all of those things is, they're all fundamentally talking about the same thing you are. They're just saying it in different ways. They're doing it in different ways. And they're getting people behind them in different ways, but fundamentally it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And really, one of the things that you have is you're not willing to lower the standard or your standard.
Yeah.
But I can tell you most of these other places are.
Mm-hmm.
Because they get a scent of success and then they start driving that. But that's not what you're doing. You're kind of stuck. So what I think is really important for you to do is, now that you know, and everybody on this call knows you can do it. That's why we keep showing up. We all know you can do it. Our job is to support you, and your job is to condition us in your ideas so we can condition other people. So we start to grow outwards. You understand my point?
Yeah. Well,
I'd like to see your agreement.
okay, I send it to
Send
Rafa.
Send it to Raffers. Leave it in Spanish, and then we'll see it. Raffers, do you think we should have a look at this agreement?
Yes, it's not so long.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, the last thing I have been doing is looking into put Express project into a concourse. Rafa, what is that the word? Concurso.
You want to have a contest, people to compete, I mean, to be awarded the permission to
Yeah.
operate? Okay.
Okay, I will explain the idea in Spanish. Rafa, please help me.
Yeah,
Okay.
no trouble.
Okay. Últimamente he estado tratando de meter a Express al proyecto en un concurso de Startup Perú. Anualmente hacen un concurso en donde a los proyectos que tengan mayor impacto social el gobierno les otorga 50.000 soles para que se desarrolle. Es un capital semilla. Y existe una gran posibilidad de que concurse para este año Express. El concurso cierra a finales de febrero y en mayo es el concurso. Entonces, las personas que han escuchado del proyecto ven que tiene mucho potencial, no solamente en Venezuela, sino a nivel internacional. Y ha tenido muy buena recibida. Es algo que impulsaría a Express a otro nivel, ¿me entiendes? Ya, ahora le puedo explicar.
Okay, Oriana is going to be taking part in a competition in Peru to have access to seed capital for startups. And there's really a lot of interest in her business, so her plan is to apply for that money. It's 50,000 soles. ¿Cuánto es en dólares?
Casi 15.000, 20.000 dólares.
It's around $15,000-$20,000. So Oriana is going to be taking part in the competition. The competition closes applications in February, and the results are announced in May. So she thinks that will provide her more exposure and also some capital to push the idea further.
Okay, and so in the meantime, what happens?
I will see, because hay unas incubadoras, son como empresas que captan las ideas de los innovadores y desarrollan la idea. Son como 6 meses de preparación hasta un año, en donde estas incubadoras estructuran toda la idea y aún así buscan más inversionistas. O sea, mientras en todo ese tiempo la idea va creciendo y se va desarrollando y se va formando en algo mucho más sólido.
Okay, there are also incubators, and they operate or they work together with a new business for around 6 months to structure the idea further, raise capital if necessary. So that's what the other consideration that Oriana has at the moment.
Okay, and so what happens to what you've already done now?
Well, with this, I haven't done the first meeting with these incubators, but the meantime, the Express might get better with these incubators if we win the contest. All the platform will transfer in something bigger, something more stable, and I want to develop an app, mobile app, also of with that money, so that will do Express, make it more structured, you know, the idea more international. That is the meantime will I will be doing the same thing that I have been doing, you know, calling orders and you know all the thing I have been doing so far.
Okay, so it would seem to me, I often use this expression, the way in and the way out is through the same door, right? You've got to look at this thing, and you're getting feedback from the market already. There's complications. And when you start to look through that, you're really going to have to start to say, okay, people are going to ask you what the definitions of what you're doing or what your idea is. So regardless of whether you go into the competition or you don't go in the competition, I think the competition is good idea, by the way. But I also think it's a distraction. And to win a competition like that, it's really very important that you're constantly improving what you're already doing. And so what's going to happen is you're going to be forced to think more carefully and more structured in an economic way, because that's what it's about. It's about economics right now. And you have to now sort it out. That's why I asked the question, what does it matter if it's people that are laundering money or not laundering money? And I know that hits a spot in you that says, hang on a second, I don't want to be involved with it. That's fine. Right? But it's still your idea. It's still all your decisions. It's still all where you're at. And it's the definition of what you're doing is what's really very important. So matter whether you're entering a competition or whatever you're doing on a daily basis, you have to refine. Feed something forward, feed back, refine. So, you've got all of these things happening. So what I see going on here right now is your idea has to expand. And that's what you're doing now. You're saying, okay, let's take our idea, and our idea has to expand out like this. Right? And what that takes is clear definition in your own mind. Because the second it does that, the thing that'll happen with your agreement, it'll get tighter. Do you understand?
Yeah.
If the idea goes out this way, your agreements will actually go this way. Why?
I don't know why. Explain.
Raphael, can you explain why?
You mean if the idea goes in one direction, the agreement can go in the opposite direction?
Well, you will expect because the agreement gets tighter because you've thought about more things. There's more relationships in it.
Yes.
And you become more confident with it. And so as you become more confident with it, all of a sudden it gets tighter and tighter and tighter. What they'll be looking for is tight agreements, not loose agreements. And the way an agreement gets tighter is by the greater definition of the idea. Now, you've fed all this information forward. You actually have a better understanding today than you did last year. Right?
Yeah.
And did your capability increase or decrease?
Increase.
Yeah. And do you think if you redefine your idea, will your capability increase or decrease?
Increase.
Yeah, you're nowhere near your capability yet.
No.
Nowhere near it. But what's happening is as you take out your idea and it goes up further and it gets into more relationships that you're starting to see, you're now into this thing around an agreement. But what's happening is the thing that's going for your agreement to get tight, your idea has to actually grow out to take in more relationships. And how those relationships fit into the agreement. That's what will make the agreement tighter. You understand?
I understand now.
And what does that do for you as an individual when you're conditioning somebody else? Mariana, when I sit at the table as a 63-year-old guy, I'm sitting there listening to morons most of the time because they have no experience. And so I have to sit there and listen and then say, okay, I understand what you're saying, and have you considered this? I don't just buy what people say anymore. I used to, when I was younger, I used to buy everything, but I don't anymore. I actually consider it because I have a pretty sound grounding on what my idea is. And you're getting a fairly sound grounding of what your idea is. As an entrepreneur, your idea may not change that much for your entire life, but it'll expand.
Yeah.
Because you're attracting all that experience to you, right? And as you attract all that experience to you, you think you'll be able to get better agreements?
Yes, I think more general agreements
Well,
for all.
it's you're going to actually be able to be more concise and more precise because of the relationships you have, because of the experience you've gained. Your agreements will get tighter. The more knowledge you acquire, your agreements will get tighter because you'll be able to work your agreement. You understand? Now, what happens to the exchange?
Increase.
Yeah, it'll expand.
Yeah.
It's because at some moment you're of more value.
Yeah.
Now, what happens to the process?
It would be faster.
Yeah, it'll repeat faster.
Mm-hmm.
What you're experiencing right now is you still have to put energy in, right, to drive your idea because it doesn't have a life of its own yet.
Yeah.
And all that says to me is if it doesn't have a life of its own, it says to me that we're not quite there yet. And so when you enter this competition, it's going to expand your idea, no question. But it's also going to distract you from where you want to go because now you get into this competitive mode where I don't want to lose.
No, I don't have that mind. Even if I don't get the money, because it's not just one winner, it's the amount of winner of whole capital, because I think is 500 soles, 500,000 soles. So it would be around 100 winners. Even if I know there, I know that I will win knowledge, more structure, more relationships with people in the middle, in the media, and advertising for free. So I think I will not lose.
Hey, nothing's free.
Well, nothing for free, but at least it will be for my package.
Yeah, and what I think you're talking about right there is profit. You profit by something that's left over. That's true. And I think what you're saying makes good sense. Mm-hmm. But I'm also thinking it's not going to alleviate what has to happen. Right? Remember when we talked about work or flow, because that's what flow is. It's a work of something, right? And then we have intelligence that drives that work. Mm-hmm. Understand? But from this way, you got focus and discipline. And what I'm very concerned about and caution you about is the discipline and the focus and the distraction. I think it's important that you do it. I think it's very important, and I think you have to have an awareness about you that believes in what you're doing. And I do think that you do believe in what you're doing.
My son, of course, I believe what I'm doing.
Yeah, when you say of course, but then it now becomes bright shiny objects that take distract you. As long as they leave something left over, then it's great. And if they don't leave something that's left over that you can profit by, then it's not so great. And so what I'm saying to you right now is I'd like to see your agreement, but I'd also like to see your expanded view on your idea as written this year, as opposed to the way it was last year through your experience. Because I'm telling you, the exchange becomes a very natural process. Yeah. If it starts to work, people will put their shoulders behind it, and they will get, they will get what it takes. I'm not here because of your idea, Oriana. I'm here because of who you are, and I know what you can do. Understand?
Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Your idea is not refined enough yet. That's what the market's telling us.
Yeah.
Right? And we have to refine that idea. Now, what I know about you is that's what you'll do. Manuel, what do you think?
Yes, I am agree with you, Kelly, that the contest is not the goal, but it's like a way to expand, to do the things, the basic things that the project is getting done by itself. And itself now, it is not having the vendors that the project needs. So that's where the focus needs to be on all the time. I think maybe there must be a way to search or keep in contact to these people that already were interested, and have kind of Skype meetings with them, maybe offering some free transactions or some, in order to have the most diversity of feedback from them, why they are not using the system, because of PayPal, because of internet money, or they don't understand. We don't know. So it's very important to have clear about that, and that will be also important if the contest go farther, because the questions will be the same in the contest. So that's something that it's very important to keep on track. And
what about
also,
if
yes,
both of them are through the same door?
Yeah, I will.
You understand the point that I'm making about that is both of them lead you to the same path. It's like you have this focus. One is going to really refine your focus, and I think you hit on the key point. You can't stop communicating with people that are already there. That's how you refine your idea. That's what the feedback does. Like it or not, that's what it does. It's not good, bad, right, or it's just feedback. And most times people take feedback as criticism. And most times feedback is an observation. It's not, I don't like to normally criticize people. I like to make an observation about what I see and what I feel. And so if it's taken as a criticism, it's very different to an observation. And what we observe right now, or what I observe right now, is stuck. And I think it's great that you're looking at a way to be unstuck by saying, I'm going to do this competition. I think that's great. But there should now be a dual focus going through the same door. You understand what I'm saying, Manuel?
Yes.
And Oriana said it very clearly. One's feeding the other. One's exposing the other. And I agree with you entirely. But that really does still come down to, it's going to take long hours, and it's going to require you to be committed to your idea. You got to refine your idea. That's true. That's what I'm asking you to do now, is refine it. As you refine your idea, it gets this way, but your agreements go this way. Because we get very, very clear about our agreements. And what I see, most people write agreements for all the contingencies they don't know. Right? And one of the contingencies that you have in your agreement is, I don't want money launderers, so it's stopping everybody. There has to be another solution. But only, and what Manuel has just said is exactly what I agree to. You got to keep speaking, and you got to take the feedback. You got to go, it's a dance. And eventually you'll find out, and you'll make a decision, in or out. And a lot of times in the early days, people get in that should be out, and people that are out that should be in get past you. That's just what happens. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you're not. Are you getting my point now, Oriana?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not a deviation from where you're at. It's an enhancement of where you're at. That's what I want it to be. That's what I'm talking about. I'm saying to you, it's very, very, very important. Now, the one thing I know is the 4 people on this call care about the 4 people on this call.
Mm-hmm.
We've been consistent all the way through. Now, you now have got to go. You've shown an awful lot of yourself and your capabilities. You now have to show what your real thoughts and ideas are: the good, the bad, the ugly, and the great. You understand my point?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be, I don't know, you may not want to be sharing that with everybody.
Let's see.
You understand my point?
Yeah.
We keep showing up because we believe in you. Because we're working on, and we've had lots of things to work on, but we've now said, okay, we've almost inadvertently chosen you and your idea as what we all want to be part of. So
Yeah, I read part of this.
Right? And that's all of us. And you know, at some moment we've got to get to being unreasonable with you. You understand my point?
Yes.
And we have been unreasonable with you before.
Keep doing it, please.
Yeah. I think what I'd like to see, and I don't think we need to go much further today, is I'm driven, right? I am one of these guys that really doesn't care too much about what's going on, and I'm driven to my outcomes. And I'm not driven towards money. I'm driven to an outcome that says we can make a difference. And I condition people to that, and I'm relentless with it. And the more it becomes clear in my mind, the easier it is for me to make an agreement. That's why I've said to you, it's about that. I know people I want to hang around and people I don't want to hang around. Right? I want to hang around you. That's my decision. Right? But I don't want to, I just don't want to hang around people that don't do something. You get my point?
Yeah.
You know, in a lot of ways, that's why I don't like multi-level marketing. Because you got a whole lot of people that are just there to kick the tires, and not that many people that want to make a difference. Right? And the ones that do want to make a difference tend to do well, and the ones that want to make excuses tend to do not so well. Right? I don't hear you making excuses very often.
I don't like.
I have heard excuses, but not very often. Right. So what I would suggest from this call is we as a group need to look at those agreements, and we need to pull them apart like we pulled apart your videos.
Okay, perfect.
And we need I personally don't think your exchange is right, just from what I've already seen. I think you're too vulnerable. But we can work that out. But there's no point of working on exchange until you get a good solid agreement, so we can work out what the exchange should be. All right? So I think that if we look at your agreement, we'll help you enhance your idea. We'll help you win your competition.
Okay.
Or at the very worst, be your best in that competition.
I always do my best.
I know that, but I want to say your best as a collective. You understand my point now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Raphael, are you committed to that concept? You're on mute, mate.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What about you, Manuel? Are you committed to that idea?
I am already helping about it.
Yeah, we get it. We see that there's good feelings between the two. We can all see that, and we know that has to be existing. But what I want to know is, if we get this agreement, are we willing to give it a critique in the same way that we did her videos? And so that will only make her stronger.
Yeah.
This is not feel good, be good stuff. This is looking at it and giving really solid feedback. And whether Oriana takes it on board or not, she's a strong enough person to make that decision. It's not for me to make that decision, it's hers. And that's what personally gets me back here, is that you're capable of doing that and demonstrating. Right? That's why I do it. And so now I feel like we got this one thing going. Now we need to really hone in on this other. If you're going to make a global difference, and you are talking about a global difference, it's not a 5-minute job. It's a life job. And I don't think you'll change that much through your life. You'll just keep refining what your idea is. And I think you're fundamentally an anarchist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I hate to tell you this, Oriana, I'm an anarchist as well.
Yeah.
So maybe that's not a good thing or not so. It's like, you can talk about entrepreneurs. I actually think you're more an anarchist than you are an entrepreneur.
Well, maybe that is why we we get out. ¿Cómo es? ¿Cómo es cuando nos llevamos muy bien? That is why.
That's why we get on well together. Yeah.
Yeah, we're symbiotic.
Yeah.
Well, I send the agreements to Rafa, and then you can see it.
Yeah, Rafa, if you just send it to me in a Word doc, I'll put it through Google Translate to start.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then if we need it more refined, we'll get it more refined. And if you read, you see words that I'm going to have problems with, if you just define those words, you don't need to interpret the whole thing. I think Google Translate's pretty good.
Yeah, normally works pretty good.
Okay.
Well, I want to get back our momentum.
Yeah.
And I see the way of getting back our momentum is that's the starting point. We've got feedback, just like, remember when we got feedback on Facebook and we immediately reacted? Well, we've got feedback now where we're not reacting.
Yeah.
Right? If you've got this feed-forward, feedback, the other word is regenerative. What will cause it to regenerate? See, people fall by the wayside and we think, oh, they're not interested, and we make all these assumptions. the thing that might cause them to go by the wayside is what we do, right? We get you're passionate, but in your passion, I also think you've got a caution about you. You're willing to be concerned about the other person.
Yeah.
Let them be concerned for themselves. That's not your job. You understand my point?
Yeah.
You got to be who you are, and as honest and direct as you are. Don't worry about protecting everybody else. That's their job. We're not looking for victims here. They're already victims, so we want to take them beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
You get my point? That's why we're anarchists. Anyway, let's end the call by asking Oriana, how do you feel and what do you take away?
Oh, thank you, Kelly. I feel great. I feel regenerative. I feel like in my momentum right now because many things are going on here. So that is really good because it makes me vibrate so high and my ideas can flow better. So only you so far makes me feel in this way. And thank you guys for this. Thank you for help me to bring out the best of me. Thank you for all for being here. And what I take away, well, feedback is the way that I can grow up. And I have learned that I have to accept any feedback, whatever it is, because that makes me get better. So that is what I take away. Thank you, guys. How do you feel and what do you take away, Manu?
Well, I feel so tired today, but happy because some things are like working on. I'm happy about it. Um, well, I am happy about the project of Oriana that is in another part of the process of the maturity. And I think I take away that this whole business and entrepreneurship is only a way or a pretext in order to grow ourselves, break our beliefs, break our context, and go farther. And I think beyond of this all business that we can have and ideas that we can have, there is some passion inside us that is driven to this to do this whatever we love to do. So we need to connect to this passion in order to keep the driven and keep forward um, against any stone in the way that we can find. That's what I take away. And there's something I want to share with you. I spoke to Oriana also some weeks ago. I have an idea I would love to share with you about a platform of selling organic food and organic products in Lima. I am just starting to do this website. I want to do my idea is to do a passive income generator by selling this organic food every week to these people that is buying this same food, same products all the weeks. And I am just talking to the suppliers and the los productores, how do you say that?
The producers
about the margins and if they are willing to to work with my idea, and they are, and until now they are very interested, and we are just figuring out about the margins. And yeah, I will speak about it next week. I would love to have your feedback about it. Keep growing. Thank you. How do you feel, and what do you take away from today, Rafa?
No, feel great, great again to be supporting Oriana again. And again, I think the key thing about supporting Oriana is make sure she keeps momentum and she keeps on being driven to her idea. And whatever she does around the idea, whether it's a competition or an incubator, whatever, it still maintains the focus on structuring her agreements and refining the idea. I think that was critical at this stage. For the takeaways, again, the importance of drive, the importance of keeping momentum. I also take away the fact that Manuel has an idea. And one thing I want to say to Manuel, I mean, don't buy that bullshit of passive income. Doesn't exist. And that's in my opinion. All income requires actually a level of energy input into actually creating something. Like Oriana. Oriana has an idea to create income, but this costs her a lot of hard work and tears and pain and even this sensation of being stuck. So it's never an easy way. So I again, myself, I don't believe in passive income. I mean, it sounds very nice, but I don't really agree with that. So it's great, actually, Manuel, that you're in motion as well. So happy to support your idea as well and listen to it, and then do the same, repeat the same process with Oriana. And so that's what I take away, the importance of 4 people being together, supporting each other, and yet because we care about making a difference. It's not just about the money. The same thing with your producer's idea, Manuel. I know that in your heart, you want to make a difference. So that's my takeaway, making a difference. Okay, so Kelly, how do you feel and what do you take away?
Well, I'm feeling a lot calmer than when I got to the call. So it's been good for me in that sense, where I'm sort of more present with what's going on. I'm in agreement with Raphael around passive. The universe is not passive. Mm-hmm. It's active. It's always in motion. Exchange, on the other hand, when you start talking about exchange, to me, passive connotates me doing all the work while you watch.
Yeah.
No, I'm not referring to you. I'm saying if I'm looking at this, Manuel, when you start talking to other people, it's almost like you saying, don't worry, I'll do all the work, you can be passive. Mm-hmm. That's just not how the universe works. Work is flow. If you define work, you have to define it as flow. Something flows. Now, what we talked about is what drives that flow, the direction of that flow. I think that that's something that's very important to understand. So I take away from Raphael, I'm with him 100%, and thank God he's saying it. Mm-hmm. That's what I take away. But the other side of it is organic. You know, Peru, much to my surprise, is like a fruit bowl with all this organic opportunity. You know, and for the life of me, the only people that really understand that Peru is the fruit bowl is Peruvians. Mm-hmm. Right? And large companies that buy all of the produce that you have. But I never realized Peru was so fertile. Yeah. And its ability to grow the different vegetables, the different fruits, and the various things that it does grow. It really is quite strange that people don't know that. And I suspect, and most people, when you talk to them about Peru and its cuisine, most people wouldn't even have an idea. They'd say, don't those guys pack their shit around on donkeys?
Yeah.
So you've got a huge opportunity, Manuel. But I don't know that it's as much local as it is getting what you have outside of Peru. Peruvians are very good eaters. The place that I go that seems to be the healthiest as a population is in and around the South Americas. You know, Peru, Colombia, a lot healthier than Asians, a lot healthier than Africans.
Yeah, it's true.
That says to me about the fertility of what's going on in this food process. So I would ask you to stretch your idea past passive and more to the idea of that great chef that you had down there that said, we're going to take our cuisine to the world.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to build a platform, you've got to build a platform that says, we're going to the world, baby.
Mm-hmm.
You got the produce, right? And you know as well as I do that it's good quality. It's highly nutritional. I'm saying to you, I have more people ask me about veggie pizza and how I screwed that up than anything. And, you know, the idea, the concept is so good. The way those guys were putting it together was very good. The fact that they're not good business people and naive is quite a different matter. But the concept that they had was a really good concept. And I would say to Manuel, yeah, it's a great concept. I like the idea that you're talking about a platform because that actually sits very well with what Oriana's doing too.
Yeah.
She's talking about well-being. And it doesn't just have to be money. So I encourage you, Oriana, to think about that. You understand?
Yeah.
Because it may not just be money you want to transfer into those people. So, and a platform is a platform, right? And it's
Yeah, basically it's almost the same structure, but with different products.
Yes. I can. The reason why I was late to this meeting, I have a simple concept, a simple idea called instantaneous integration. I've been working on it for 15 years. And it doesn't just apply to the business that I do, it applies to all business. How do we take this mundane work away from this type of beingness and let us do what we're really good at doing, which is thinking through issues and creating things rather than looking at such trivia. And so I think that that's really very important. So what I take away from this meeting is we genuinely have people that think and care. And it goes a long way beyond the money. And that's why both Raphael and I care enough about you, Manuel, to say to you, don't get caught in passive. Flow is work. Work is flow. And so you don't want to be the person that's out front of everything and everyone thinks you're going to be their hero. That's just not a good way to be. Right? And a lot of times when people say, I have passive income, Raphael and I talk to a guy every Wednesday night who had literally hundreds and hundreds of people that wanted him to produce passive income. And in the end, he became a victim of the victims. Mm-hmm. And in the end, it was because he couldn't make decisions because everyone relied on him. Just be very careful. I challenge you to think about that for next week. All right, Manuel? So what I take away is we can be honest with each other and we can do it without all getting upset. Yeah. And that's because of you, Oriana. Mm-hmm. No, it is. We said some things that most people would not want to hear to you. And you actually led the way by doing something about it, not being a victim. You understand? It's very important in a leadership point of view is that you can lead. All right. enough
Okay.
crap.
Okay.
Enjoy
Thank
your
you,
evening.
guys. Bye.
Okay,
All right,
great.
I expect the agreement ASAP.
Okay. I
Yes,
will send it.
and good job on your idea, Manuel.
Yes.
Keep it coming.
I agree with
He
you
has all
entirely.
my support.
Bye bye.